been said, where we are tightest, there we need stretching. The law of life is exacting. It provides with uncanny precision, just the growth that each one needs. To us is given a choice. We can struggle with the problem, railing at life for sending it, or we can bless the growth that it contains and set about to find the hidden truth that will unlock the door to the perfect solution. It is like a jigsaw puzzle. Once the missing piece is found, the other pieces fall into place. The finished picture emerges. Please say the affirmation on your program or the screen with me with conviction. Today
Today
I
I
accept
accept change
change
as
as
a
part
part of
of
the
the
grand
grand
design,
design
which
which is
is
therefore
therefore for me.
I
I change
change
my
my
thinking
thinking
to
to
align
align
with
with the
ultimate
ultimate
reality,
reality, spiritual
spiritual truth.
truth. And
And
my
my
life
life is
is
now
now
a
a
glorious
glorious adventure,
adventure,
increasingly
increasingly
filled
filled
with
with
more
more of
of
every
every
good
good thing.
thing. And so it is. Thank you, Marcy. So I love the topic this month, getting real about life. And I'm talking about real with a capital R. We're talking about ultimate reality. And that means to kind of filter out some of the beliefs that we've been carrying around about reality that are not serving us and lining up with beliefs that are. And what I want to say to you every time that I offer you a message like this, I am trusting each one of you to use your own intuition and your own guidance as to whether this makes sense for you or not. So I am offering you a perspective. And yours then is to look at that and see if that lines up with what really resonates with you. So this is not about me trying to make you think a certain way. I think it's really important, but that we're all like exploring these ideas together so that we can more fully line up with the good of life and be that beneficial presence we came here to be. So today, the aspect of getting real that I want to focus on is getting real about the idea of life lessons, because I think there could be some misconceptions here. And it's kind of summarized in something that Mother Teresa said. She said, "I know God won't give me any more than I can handle. I just wish He didn't trust me so much." Which is lovely, and I love Mother Teresa. Now, I'm not sure that she really means it this way, but what many people have interpreted that to mean is that there is an outside God laying adversity upon us so that we can prove whether we can really handle it or not. And I want us to look at that as maybe something that is not real, is not serving us. That there's maybe another way to look at this that not only makes more sense, but is in alignment with principle, with the principle as we can best discern it. So Ernest Holmes writes this, and I said it a little bit earlier. He defines God as the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. So does that sound like this eternal goodness, loving kindness, givingness of life to all is out there plotting to put adversity upon us so that we can have difficult life lessons? Does that even make sense? See, it doesn't to me. And does it make more sense that this presence, this life, this power, remember, we are made in the likeness and image of the divine. We've been called children of the Most High. And so doesn't it make more sense that this life, this presence, this power, this eternal goodness, loving kindness, and givingness of all life to all, this divine presence that many of us call God or Source, is a presence that only wants to express more fully in us, through us, and as us. Does that make more sense? It does to me. That there is this presence within us and at the very core and center of our being that wants to express more life, more good. And so, from that perspective, Ernest Holmes tells us in the Science of Mind textbook, we reach out to infinity. And since we cannot encompass infinity, we shall always be expanding and always enlarging our capacity to know and to experience. This is a perspective of a continual expansion, unfolding, and expression of the already whole, perfect, complete divine presence that's within us. And at the human level, we just continue to show up as greater and greater versions of ourselves. Many of you may have experienced that over life when you look back, because here's an example for me. When I look back and see the movies that I used to think were funny movies, Dan and I had this experience a while back. We found this movie that we thought was so funny years ago, and we decided we'd see it again, and we're like, oh, this movie is really sick. So it's like, okay, we've evolved. I don't even want to tell you. Oh. I mean, it was sick, but to me it was cruel. I mean, it was just, anyway. So it's so interesting how we can go through life and not realize how we evolve until we have an experience like that. So evolution, this idea of stretching beyond our areas of inner tightness, is what life is all about. So so there's this impulse within us, which is universal love intelligence within us, individualized as us, that wants to grow and expand and unfold. And then there's the belief structure that we have that's limiting, that thinks we're separate from life and that life is hard, and all of those things that are places of tightness. Jack Addington talked about the places of tightness where we need to stretch. These are the places where we're most resistant to showing up as the fullest, most amazing expression of who we are. So the challenges then are simply the law of cause and effect, the universal law of cause and effect, that are calling us to grow, to drop that doesn't serve us, the beliefs that don't serve us, and to stretch beyond where we've been before. And Addington says in that beautiful quote, the Addingtons, there's two of them actually, husband and wife. We have a choice: struggle with the problem, and that means blaming someone, railing against life for bringing this horrible thing to us. So that's one choice. The other choice is to bless the growth that it contains and look for the hidden truth that will unlock the door to perfect solution and the way in which we are to grow. So that I want to get into a little bit more of that later and just bring in my experience of Vipassana meditation, because I think it really does support that second one being a possibility. So I love this note from the universe. It said, if it weren't for your challenges, how would you ever know that there are things that you still misunderstood? You wouldn't. So bless them, embrace them, and give thanks for them. So what would happen then if, instead of complaining and frustration, we decided to start blessing all of our challenges, embracing them, giving thanks for them, and then looking for the hidden way in which we are being called forth into greater expression of the love, the peace, the joy, the magnificence that we are. I mean, think about it. Some of the most challenging things in life have brought about some of the best qualities in each one of us. And we've seen it in the great leaders as well. It doesn't mean that we want to have a continual life of challenge. It's not like that, but it's really about the more that we expand our awareness of who we are, the more we're able to look at so-called challenges as they come up in a different way. We can see them as growth opportunities. We can see them from this place of centeredness and what the Buddhists call equanimity, so that we cannot overreact. We'll get to the place where we don't overreact, but instead we come from this place of centeredness and deep wisdom so that we can respond to whatever is going on around us with wisdom and intelligence and love and compassion and right action. So if we realize then that these challenges are for us, for our expansion, for our growth, for new levels of understanding, for us to show up more fully as who we are in truth, then it's a whole different ballgame. I'd like to share a story with you about this that I think will kind of help to solidify it. I love stories. Once upon a time, there was a young woman who was experiencing some significant challenges in life, and she was about ready to give up. She felt that it was just getting, it was like every time she'd solve one, another one would show up. And so she decided to go and talk to her father and get some comfort and maybe some advice. And he was a chef. And so he invited her into his kitchen, sat her down at the table, and started boiling 3 pots of water. And once the water started boiling, he threw carrots in the first one, eggs in the second, and ground coffee in the third one. And after 20 minutes, he fished out the carrots and put them in one bowl, the eggs in another, and the coffee in a coffee cup. And he invited her to taste each one. And so she tasted the carrots. And they'd gotten mushy and tasteless, lost all their taste, and were just not her cup of tea. And then she tried the eggs, and the eggs, which had been soft on the inside, were now hard as rocks, and again, very unappetizing. And then the coffee. And as she sipped the coffee, it was rich in flavor. It was delightful. And so she looked at her father and she said, "What does this have to do with me and my problems?" She was getting annoyed with him. And he said, "It's like this." He said, the, he said, "Are you like the carrot? Are you like the carrot that starts off strong and then with adversity becomes weak and soft? Or are you like the egg that starts off fluid and soft on the inside and then with adversity becomes hard as a rock on the inside? Or are you like the coffee that becomes richer and more flavorful in the midst of adversity?" And he advised her, "I encourage you to be like the coffee and to allow adversity to take you to new heights of who you are in truth," which is what we've just been talking about. And not only that, it changes the environment all around it because the coffee, just spreads its goodness all through the water and then blesses her. And isn't that what happens to us as we allow adversity to fire us into a whole new level of being, that we become a beneficial presence. We become a blessing. Many of you have experienced this already as we allow ourselves to move into higher states of being and show up in a different way, allowing adversity to support us in getting there. So there are some basic principles then, or a new way of looking at life's lessons that I want to go over, and there are just 4 of them. The first one is that we can't escape growth experiences. It's part of life. It's part of expansion. Every time we're a little tight in some area, we have that tightness that comes from false belief. That's just another opportunity to grow. And there's a story of Ptolemy, the king of Alexandria, who complained to Euclid, the one who came up with all the all of the lessons around geometry. And so Ptolemy was taking geometry lessons from Euclid, and he said, "Isn't there a shorter way of learning geometry?" And Euclid said, "Sire, in the country, there are two kinds of roads, the hard road for the common people and the easy road for the royal family. But in geometry, all must travel the same road." And isn't this what, and he goes on to say, there's no royal road to learning. So all of us go through the same process, but it's our perspective about it that makes all the difference. So the first one, we can't escape growth experiences. The next one is growth experiences are repeated until we grow. Anybody experience this? So sometimes we hear the wake-up call, but prefer to slumber and dream a little longer. So in other words, we ignore, we resist, we complain, we rationalize, we want to blame somebody else. And believe me, I have tried this over and over again. Every once in a while, I think I've gotten a lesson, and then I find myself slipping back into this. And I always come back to it's an inside job. It's an inside job. It's not about me fixing everything out there. And and so that's just some sharing with you. The third principle about life lessons. Growth experiences get more challenging and more dramatic the longer that we resist the inner growth that is required. Anybody experience that? There's a new thought minister by the name of David Orrin Ritz, and I love what he says about that. He says, if we ignore our life challenges, they go away, change clothes, get all of their friends, and come back. Okay, so growth experiences finally may seem daunting, but we are given everything that we could possibly need to meet them and transcend them and solve whatever is in our midst. The divine presence that we emanate from withholds nothing. Nothing. It's just our belief that something is being withheld from us. But every resource, every bit of guidance, everything that is necessary for our meeting any challenge or experience is already present within us because of who we are in truth. Nobody was born into this life with a deficit of universal intelligence. And there's so many, you may not completely agree with that, but the truth is even the people who seem to not have the mental skills or the mental intelligence and so on, and notice how well they're often taken care of and how much wisdom they impart. And I'm thinking of just some children I've known over the years from being a school counselor, how much wisdom they impart that comes from the wisdom that's within them. Okay, and so the purpose then of every growth opportunity, if you want to look at it at the essential level, is to heal the belief of separation, the belief that somehow we are separate from the good that God is, from the good that this universal intelligence or presence is that we are a part of. And so each step of the way, the infinite source of all that is in essence conspiring for our good. So let me share now a little bit about my Vipassana experience, my quest for inner growth, because I'm aware that that's what it's all about. So just picture signing up for a 10-day retreat. It was actually a course, committing to 10 hours of meditation a day, essentially, and to not speaking, giving up your car keys and your purse so that you don't just flee off in the middle of the night. You have to go and get it from somebody. I mean, there were people who did leave early, but it just kind of takes away that temptation. and and you couldn't speak or gesture or make eye contact with any of the other students, although you could with the assistant teachers that were there and the person who was the manager of your group. So I mean, your needs are completely taken care of. What this allowed me to do, which I just think was so beautiful, is to not get into my own drama or to share in anyone else's drama, but to stay centered in the technique that I was being taught, which was to simply watch the body's sensations come and go, remind myself of the impermanence of it all, and to really ground myself in this witness consciousness, this ability to witness, watch things rise and fall, with the idea of developing what they call an equanimous mind. In our terms, it would be peace of mind. And so from this state of peace of mind, I mean, I contemplated this a lot because they asked you not to bring in any other techniques. And now that means I couldn't do spiritual mind treatment and all that. But it was good because what it did is it allowed me to really experience what this technique was all about and realize how powerful it was to be in this place where I'm not clinging to the good experiences and I'm not pushing away the bad experience, the so-called bad, the pains or aches or something like that would show up as the subconscious continued to reveal itself, but allow the purification process to take place and to witness it. And then when I came back, I thought, how powerful to have this as a meditation technique, and then to add to that visioning and the affirmative prayer that we teach, and these beautiful, powerful tools all together. And so it was really a wonderful experience, and I have a greater sense of who I am in truth. And the body sensations that come and go, no, that's not me. The thoughts that arise and fall, those are just things that are present in the field, and I, the witness, get to choose what I want to entertain and what I don't want to entertain. And because I'm in that place, then I'm not going to be overwhelmed or into shutdown, stress response if something comes up that I don't like. That's the key. Is it's a way of managing that old fight or flight response that shuts down what Charlie was talking about, the cerebral cortex, so that we can't think. It's a way of staying centered and open and available to the wisdom of the Most High that moves in us, through us, and as us. Inner wisdom. So that was my experience. And so that is one of the ways that we can meet challenges then with this so-called equanimous mind, so that we can be centered and not overreact, but realize that there is a power greater than us that works through us and as us, that knows the solution, that knows how it is that we are to stretch and grow so that we can be a more beneficial presence. So with that, I had another story, but it's now getting to be really late. So I just want to share with you just kind of, again, of a summary. You know what? This is a good story. I'll keep it really short. So this is a story about a group of women in a Bible study who were puzzled over the meaning of Malachi 3:3. And here's the quote. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. So one of the women offered to call a local silversmith and learn about the refining process, the purifying process of silver, and get back to them. So she contacted the local silversmith, showed up with his permission, and watched him work. And so, as he was holding the silver over the hot fire, he explained, in refining silver, you hold the silver in the middle of the fire where the flames are the hottest to burn away all the impurities. Then she thought about the times that she had been in a hot spot in her life. And just like we were talking about, how it helped her to grow, to be purified. And she said, could it mean that we are being purified and refined every time that we are in a hot spot or a challenge? And so the silversmith went on to say, I sit here holding the silver with my eye on it the entire time. One moment too long in the fire and it could be ruined. And so then she said, then how do you know that the silver is fully refined? Listen to this. He smiled and said, when I see my image in it. When I see my image in it. So that is how we know when the purification process is working its work in us, is when we show up as a greater reflection of the Most High. And so with that, I guess I feel complete, and so it is. Amen. Thank you.
I know what that